Hello and welcome everyone to my little corner of the internet. My name's Michael and I'm bitten by a radioactive bug. Today I'm going to present you the last part and conclusion of my 5-part steampunk guide with the theme Moral and Morality in Science and Politics. As always, I will give a quick historical context of the theme, show how it relates to the reader of 2014, and in the end give a few reading recommendations where I found the topic represented really well. When we talk about moral in science and politics, we have to look at Charles Darwin, because Charles Darwin did actually something very unique. He proved that man comes from apes or from mammals, and so is not a creature created from God out of nothing. And that, of course, arose the question if actually there is a God at all. Because if man had developed organically, then maybe there isn't a God after all. And the idea of not having a God is some we have already seen in the first installment, or in the second installment of the guide, because people then were questioning leadership, and if leadership can come from God if there is no God, and how can leadership work? And the same is, of course, that moral and social conventions are often based on, or were often based on, religion. That religion told the people how to behave and what was in God's will and what wasn't. So if there all of a sudden was the possibility of there not being a God, then so where comes moral from? Is moral something that comes actually from the human himself, like Immanuel Kant would suggest, that it's imprinted in our human soul to behave morally appropriate? Or is it something like Hobbes would say, that man is man's wolf and everybody's out for himself, and that there are actually no real moral boundaries, and all moral is maybe just a contract that we get into like socially. And this is often represented in steampunk literature by the conflict of the mad scientist. Because the mad scientist is as mad as he is, because he has no moral boundaries. He doesn't think or believe in a god or in a higher instance to judge him, so he is allowed to do everything as he pleases. And there you can see where the actual trope of the immoral scientist come from, or the mad scientist. It's from his lack of having morals. Now, how does this connect to us today? If you look at the two schools of thought I talked about, like if you have Kant on the one hand, Hobbes maybe on the other, you have that still represented a bit in today's politics. In most countries we have a more conservative party that says basically everyone is a bit more responsible for her or himself, and on the other hand you have mostly more social or socialist parties that say, nah, we have to think of the greater good, and the ones that have more should give something to the ones that have less. That is a very, very simple way of looking at things, but I think you can see if in your country you have this kind of duology between conservative and more socialist parties, that these school of thought are actually based in that conflict of ideas that we had in the Victorian era. We had it before, but with Charles Darwin, the whole thing of maybe not having a god really let this discussion erupt. And of course in science we have more modern problems or modern issues connected to it. How far do we want to have cloning and bioengineering go? If it's or should we do everything we can with science just because it's possible? Or aren't there any moral boundaries? I think that is something that is very good reflected in the doubts Oppenheimer had for creating the atom bomb, for example, and yeah, other things that are on that line as well. So these questions of moral in science and in politics are actually very, yeah, current issues for our society as well. A novel that reflects both schools of thought very, very good, and yeah, is I think the highlight of the theme, is a novel I talked about a lot already. It's The Strange Affair of Spring Heel Jack. It has this questions as one of its major themes, and yeah, its execution in showing both sides of the argument and yeah, shedding light on the argument is really done well. I also already talked about the Parasol Protectorate series from Gail Carriger, with the first installment of Soulless, and I think it's very important to say that this is not only the paranormal romance novel or maybe the female empowerment novel I already talked about in the third segment of the guide, but it has also in the later part a huge discussion of actually moral in science, or maybe not a huge discussion, but if you read the book you will see that in the end this is one of the themes of the book, and this is one of the main reasons why it really connects to steampunk, because without that you could say, yeah, it's a paranormal romance, of course it has this gender equality thing going on as well, which makes it a steampunk novel, but this connection also to science is what really connects the book to steampunk. And what I personally find really clever of the author is that with gender equality and science as topics, it connects like two themes which are most often on conflict in our world, because we as I talked about in the gender equality part, women are not always really welcomed in like science, and I think the connections of both themes in this novel to connect a female character with science as a theme is on purpose here by Gail Carriger, and I really applaud her for doing that without being preachy at all. And the last book is actually a classic. It's, of course, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I think it's the novel that started this discussion, because it has the basic idea of a scientist playing God. So if there's no God, he can create a monster, the Frankenstein monster. He can actually go there and create human life, or the illusion of human life. And I think if you're looking into Frankenstein, you can see that this is at the bottom of the novel, or the heart of the novel is this idea. If a scientist is allowed to do that and create normal life and set himself on the same level as a possible god. So I would highly recommend reading Frankenstein, because it has so many of the roots of the genre theme wise, and it's a great read. So go there and do it. And as it also counts as a horror book, maybe in the upcoming October many people read horror, you might decide, okay, I take my horror with a bit of a steampunk taste, and maybe think about it more from a steampunk point of way and from this moral and science theme than you would maybe normally when just reading it for its horror qualities. So that was the conclusion of my steampunk guide. I hope you liked these 5 parts about it, and it was helpful to get you started with the whole genre. As you might have seen, I think I have a good grasp on the genre, but the grasp could be even better because I have maybe read like 10-15 books in the genre and not like 50. That will change over the next years because I have a lot of steampunk lined up, and you will see this constantly being a part of my channel. So if you want to know more things about steampunk, yeah, come to my channel. This will always be a topic here. I hope you liked this whole shebang of steampunk, and next week, next Thursday, I'm going to continue with the guide theme, but I will look into a new theme, and it will be Flintlock fantasy, a fairly, not new genre, but a fairly small genre, but I'm very excited about it, and yeah, I hope I can excite you to pick it up. That's it from me today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of me, subscribe to my channel. If you want to know what's coming up, for example the Flintlock guide or the Flintlock fantasy guide, look into the comment box. There's a little segment called On the Horizon. I wish you a good day and hope you get bitten by a really good book too. Bye.